All right, BLaK Box Radio. We are in the box. We're in West Baltimore. We are in our we got our second person in the BMore BLaK Series. You know we black up out here. So we Baltimore, we black, and we beautiful. And tonight we are moving towards our second person in this series, but I'm gonna first introduce myself. I'm Queen from BLaK Box Radio. I'm a host here. We are a media platform for Black excellence. We platform Black people, we platform Black genius, and we disseminate information to the Black community. And we also humanize ourselves to outside communities. That is our intentional effort. We love Black, we do Black, and we talk Black. So tonight, I created a series called the BMore BLaK Series. You know, we're in Black History Month. So nationally, this is deemed a month for Black history, but we know that America is nothing without Black history. Let's be clear. There's no American history if there's no Black history. Amen. The country's built on the backs of Black people. So we know what's up. But tonight in Baltimore, it is intentional to platform living history. People who are effectual in their spaces. People are doing great things in Baltimore City. And tonight I got my sister, y'all. I got my sister. I got my West Baltimore sister. I got Dionne Joyner-Weems, DJW. Not DJW, DJW. Get it right.
It's like a Tribe Called Quest. You got to say it all together.
Say it all together. So listen, welcome to the box.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you.
I'm anxious. I'm anxious, but I am so honored because we have been working on getting something scheduled for at least 3 years.
10 years. Stop lying to people.
And then wind up having, remember we had that like an hour-long conversation.
Yes. About something. About all the way on the other side. We
yes.
was all the way on the other side. So that's, that's the connection. And I know, you're a tastemaker in the city, Shiz. You're doing all the tastemaking out here. So we watching you. We love what you're doing. And not only that, you're a Morgan State graduate.
You got that right.
And I am too. We bears for life. Shoot. You know it.
HBCU. The fact that my boys, because I live around the corner from Morgan.
Oh, so,
and my boys, they go to Northwood Elementary School, which is around the corner.
Around the corner.
But it's the fact that we get to drive past Morgan State University every day.
Wow.
And I have seen the impact that has on my 3 boys. Mm-hmm. And that reminds me that without access, without being able to experience something, you don't know what you don't know.
That's it.
Access.
That's it.
Access.
I say that about BMore's Black youth. It is access. They do not have access and exposure. They don't know what they don't know.
What I tell people, like when I share, I am born and raised Sandtown, Winchester. Always. Brittany Young has a 215 Sarah certified. I'm 215 certified.
Yeah, certified.
But when I'm speaking to folks, I tell them that Sandtown is 72 square blocks of the most brilliant minds you will never meet if they don't have access.
That's it.
Like I know my mother, she hustled. Like my mother was the one that would find the free programs, the Youth Works, and put me in at 14. She was the one that would find the city high school was having like Saturday programs. She would get us. She was always my parents were always trying to focus us on something other than what was outside of our front door.
And that's so beautiful. That is just so beautiful. We have to do that because most of us, our front doors isn't Canton. It isn't East Harbor. It isn't Fed Hill. Let's be clear. So if you focus your children in spaces that they can grow and that they can be exposed, then you give them so much texture. That's just it. That's just it, So it's not, I always say it's not where you start. It is definitely not where you start. Because a lot of people started in grime and they shine. You can go from grime to shine. So Hey, you can.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, Baltimore is grace and grit. I
Yep.
am getting of the age where I'm very self-aware, and
Okay.
every day I'm learning something about myself. And I realize it was being from West Baltimore. It's because I didn't even know what the perception was, Queen, of where I grew up. I didn't, because you don't know what you don't know. It was just my neighborhood.
That's it.
Right.
That's
You
it.
know, it's where my school was. My grandparents live around the corner. My grandfather's a deacon in the church. It was like my stomping grounds.
That's
It
right.
wasn't until, it was my mother, actually. I think I was about 13. And at the time, zone schools, right?
Yep.
In order for me to attend a school that would, allow me to grow, we live in the same zip code. I can't go to Roland Park. Because to be honest, I lived on Strickland, Saratoga. That's not my zone school.
Unless you're putting a bag down.
Unless you're putting a bag down.
You're going to a private school. You can't move. Yeah.
And I'm going to be really, really honest. And I know that we're live, but I think we've surpassed the, 10 years? You can't get arrested. So
No, you didn't.
I think it is like, it's something. But to know every time I see a story about a mother that's being arrested for using an address to get their children into school,
yeah,
I cringe because my mother did the same thing.
Man, every mother wants best for their children. And that is why education shouldn't be criminal. You should allow people to put their children where they feel they should be. That's what education should be, that. But of course, everything in America has requirements, unfortunately. And so, but you should that should not be criminal to want best for your children.
Absolutely.
Why is that criminal? You think about that. You want your child to go to a better environment that you think fits your child, and that becomes criminal. It's nonsensical, but that's the environment we live in.
Oh, do you know, where did I hear? I can't recall where I heard this stat, but I held on to it, that the prison system, like when they think about how to build more prisons or capacity, they look at the dropout rate. So they look at the dropout rate from schools, because that basically is the pipeline from school to the prison, right? And I'm like, motherfucker. So y'all,
I love it.
But to just think about, because we know that we're still dealing with the pandemic, but the virtual learning, like I said, I have 3 boys. That virtual learning experience was so difficult for us. But then when I found out that there was like, damn, I know I'm going to mess it up, 6,000 or 50,000, it was thousands of students that were just lost in the wind once they went to virtual.
Of course.
Lost in the fucking, like.
Listen, in school, you have 100,000 that's lost. So imagine when you try to go to a computer. Please, Baltimore City School. Was that something you didn't think would happen? When you're not prepared, you don't even have a virtual imprint. You don't even have a workup to go virtual in a technological society. Was you surprised? It's so unfortunate. Are we surprised at what we see? They can't even do real school right. I hate to say it, but they have a problem with Baltimore City real school. Just going to school every day. No heat, no air. Let's talk about the things that they're not doing in just school. So I expected that. And that's the problem, is we're not prepared for the growth for our own children.
Queen, can I tell you, thank you for this platform, though, because you and I both know that there are people in Baltimore, like I'm going to shout out Jonathan Moore from Rowdy Orbit. This man literally will strap cords on his back in order to ensure that neighborhoods are connected. He will talk to churches to see if he can get on the roof to get whatever that signal is. And I'm like, wait a minute. See, it's interesting that you're not going to elevate this gentleman, but I can see everybody else on the cover of magazines and getting write-ups. But here it is that this guy is doing the work. I found out for those neighborhoods in my community that do not have access to internet, it showed that they are 2 years behind. And this was before the pandemic hit. right? So I don't even know if this is changing, but we're already starting in the hole.
Exactly. We are at a deficit all the time. How do you do that with children? Tell me, how do you do that? How do you put them in a space where they're at the deficit at every turn? The schools are not technologically equipped. And then when something happens, like we had, like a natural disaster, contagion around us, they're not ready to adjust at all.
But it's
unbelievable. I'm really unfortunate, but I hope that this school system finds a way. That's all I can say. I hate to criticize, but it is what it is.
I'm gonna say this. So even when you ask the question, how do you raise children in an environment where they're always at a deficit?
Yep.
The pandemic I feel like it reminded Black people that we started off as a village. We started off as a tribe.
Yep.
So what those pods that got formed by, volunteers that were, teaching, 10 students, and then it gave us an opportunity to remind ourselves, wait a minute, we were doing this before we started sending our children into the system. Let's get back to our grassroots. Let's get back to, pouring. So
can we homeschool?
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it was.
Can we community school our children? Can we? I had Elmore Holiday on, and she has a homeschool network, and it's amazing. Ooh. And she teaches.
What's the name?
You can go watch that. You got to go watch that. Okay. Elmore Holiday. She is the CEO of a homeschool, and it's Black centered. It's Black. It's amazing. I had her on to talk about, because I want to give parents another option. Yes. It's not that school is particularly the worst thing. The process is finding something that is another option. We don't have other options. And she break down that you don't have to be rich. You can be a single mother. They adjust to people's conditioning. If you have a lot of kids, it can be done. So we got to look at other options for our children if we want greatness from them. They're in a deficit just being who they are. We can't continue to allow their education to be at a deficit, their food. So we got food deserts. That's a deficit. What are we going to do? What are we going to do with our children?
All right. So you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What I know we are not going to do is that we ain't giving up.
That's it.
That is not, when we started the call, you were asking, Dionne, how you doing? And I'm like, it's a really weird time as far as energy. I'm very energy driven.
Okay.
And when in 2020, when the pandemic was at its height, I could read the writing on the wall because everyone was talking about this. Oh, the new normal. I'm like, fuck that. No. Y'all have got to understand the language. Shit wasn't normal before this happened.
That's what I'm saying. And we're trying to go back to that. Who
told you
to do that? Thank you. That wasn't normal.
So I was telling people, you look, the power is standing firm in what we're going to do and what we're not going to do.
Absolutely.
Because you started to realize where the power was. Do you want to work from home? Do you not want to work from home? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you be an entrepreneur? Like, what is it that we want? Okay, what you want, you can have. Let's manifest this shit and keep going. Like I'm in this space where I've realized I've put so much into what the system will do. What the system, well, Dionne, how you going to work with the system to make it? We are magic. Ooh. Black people are magic.
Say it. That's it.
When we put our minds to it, God is revealed. I know it in my heart. So now I've totally switched. I will not.
Preach, talk to me, sis. Talk to me now. Talk to me.
I can't allow what is perceived as real.
Mm-hmm.
Work with your conscious mind. Like, so this seems real, but I know that it's not. And I realize that everything is energy, even your thought is energy. It reminds you how connected we are. So when people talk about the law of attraction, it really is real.
Listen, the heart beats, it's energy. The beat, the rhythm of your heart, that's energy. If you break that rhythm, that's heart attacks. That's sick. We are made of energy. We all are energy, sis. When you see the electrocardiogram, you see movements. That's energy. All of that's energy. So we're energy.
Exactly.
But the thing about Black people, we magical energy. That's some next level energy. And we got to find out
always, no, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
We just got to find out how to hone that. And put it in a place where it's not being, I would say, boxed and delivered by other people. We got to deliver our own energy. We got to have our own spaces. We have to.
Do you know why? That's the reason. I feel like people have grown to know me in Baltimore because of the hashtag #MyBmore. So
Bmore. Wait, don't go there. Don't go there. Stop. Because you know what? You didn't even say who you listen. I want to know a little bit. Can we know who you are? Because we just sisters. We just get on here and stop talking. So tell the people who DJW is. Just give us some backstory. Not what you do, who you are, who you be.
Okay, my name is Dionne Joyner-Weems, born and raised in Sandtown, Winchester. I'm a product of the Baltimore City school system, graduated from Western High School, then went on to Morgan State University where I majored in marketing. So I was at the Earl Graves School of Business and Management. And at that time, I don't even know if I really appreciated the fact that I'm in a building by a Black man who's done shit, like who's
a media giant. Yeah,
you get what I'm saying. So I digress, but I want to make this one point about when you do understand your history, it makes your future brighter. So to know that I have walked past churches in which Martin Luther King, like what's my give me a second. Forest Park, is it Forest? Harlem Park. Nope. Mm-hmm. Above it, Harlem Park. There is this beautiful church building that was a theater. Before it was like this movie theater, and all of these famous Black artists were there and coming to Baltimore, and there are articles written in
Harlem Theater.
Yes.
Yeah, I know about the Harlem Theater.
But to know, Queen, I grew up.
Yep.
And I would walk. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that history was there. It was just a building to me. And that lets me know that if you don't know, it keeps you in the dark, right? I'm like, wait, I'm walking past greatness. So if you're walking past greatness, then obviously I must be great. Obviously I must be great.
There you go.
But graduated from Morgan State University. That's where I met my husband, Jason Weems. And from there, I went into advertising. I remember seeing it was actually the 7th grade. I was at West Baltimore Middle School. My 7th grade teacher had an assignment for the class to create a commercial for toothpaste, like how to get kids to want to brush their teeth with this new toothpaste. And she broke us into groups. I gotta let you know, I don't like working in groups. I know it's I'm not a good group because I take everything on because it's got to be done right. But in the class, as you know, in Baltimore City schools, you got that person that can write, you got that person that can draw, that person that can sing, right?
Yep.
And we wind up putting together this commercial, and the whole class was like into it. I'm like, man, as I was walking out the door, I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, man, if I could get paid for that, that's what I would do. And my teacher pulled me to the side and was like, that's marketing. What you just did, that's marketing, that's advertising, that's a way of communicating. I'm like, what?
Wow.
And 7th grade, I knew that was what I was going to do.
Man.
I didn't know.
That's why teachers are so important. Teachers are the viable movement to a viable future. That is the reasoning why they're so important. Because she put that seed there, and it's now a tree. My BMore, live, but BMore, you're doing it all with the same thing that you learned in 7th grade from a teacher. Amazing.
From it, and to know that before coming to Morgan, that's what I was sharing. My mother, I think, was around going into middle school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people like, you know, where are you from? Because in middle school, it's like, okay, now you've branched out of your neighborhood some. So it's like, okay, where you grow up? Where you go? Where you go?
Yeah.
And I'm loud and proud. Yeah, you know, Sandtown. And I'm giving people the, you know, the address. And my mother pulled me to the side one day and she was like, Dionne, stop telling people where we live. Not so much like the address. Stop telling them the area in which we live. I'm like, why? I don't care. No, because what in hindsight, my mother, it wasn't a lack of pride.
Mm-hmm.
My mother knew that her two children were going to be judged based on their area code. So she did not want to create any additional barriers for her son and daughter. But instead, being the person that I am, I'm like, you know what? I'll be damned. And, you know, to this, when I tell you that I am Baltimore through and through, I pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority at Morgan State University. My line name is DWB. Do you know what DWB stands for?
Please tell
Downtown West Baltimore.
Really?
Because when I realized what the perception of women, specifically women, Black women for Baltimore was, the words you hear become your life. And I'm like, I can't accept this narrative that's being projected on me. I'm not ignorant. I'm fly. I can dress.
Yeah.
You know, all of the talking about how country, how loose women are.
Yeah.
So why would I try to shun what I need to work on ensuring you know it's different? So I gotta claim where I am. I have to.
Had to. Love that. And you have to. When you claim where you are, you know where you're going. You know, a lot of people they don't really know where they are. They came from, so they definitely ain't gonna know where they're going. You gotta claim where you come from. You have to.
That's why to this day, when I left, went into advertising, and I was at one of the, God is so good. I graduated from Morgan State, no job, no money, and all this expectation that Dionne is going to go off and do something big. And I'm working at Victoria's Secrets. I'm folding low-rise cotton panties, you know,
no, you're not.
From like
the Egyptian cotton drawers. No, you're not.
So embarrassed. I had to wind up moving back home with my parents, you know, and that was, sometimes people don't realize it's not a setback to stop. It's a setback to propel you forward. Like it's that snapback. All right, I'm gonna pull here. So I wind up sending out my resume to every ad agency in Baltimore. It's the most pitiful little portfolio I put together, but I'm out there hustling. And it was a guy, Andy Dumaine, white guy. He was a principal of the Campbell Group. He called me in, and I was so excited because I was like, Mommy, I got this interview down here, so that must, you know, I'm about to get a job. And by the time we finished the conversation, he was talking about how much he loved my energy and and he could offer me an internship, a non-paid internship. I went home crying.
Did you?
Crying. Because that's not what I wanted. I've graduated from Morgan. My family is looking at me to do something. I'm at Victoria's Secret. This is not. And my mother, Queen,
that's what you needed, sis.
She was like, if you don't dry up those tears right now, because what God just gave you is an opportunity.
Yes.
So I expect you to do like you always do, Dionne. Step foot over that door and blow it up.
Yep.
And I was like, yes, ma'am. It's kind of like LL Cool J. Mama said, knock you out. I'm going to knock you out.
But you know what? The good thing is you had a mom that was able to see the opportunity and allow you to see who you was and what you could do. Unfortunately, a lot of our young people don't have that at home.
You're right.
you know, and we expect for them to be able to rap, because if it was just you thinking that out, you would have beat yourself up. That wasn't enough for you.
And real talk, I had others in my family. It's like,
Thank you.
Pay, we don't work.
We don't do nothing for free. Yeah.
What you don't. So, and this is family.
Yeah, you know, you pay for that whole education. You need to get paid. Yeah, I know. But so, this is your opportunity.
So you're absolutely right. It's who is in your circle. Who you need to surround yourself, as a quote says, surround yourself with people that can see the best in you, even when you can't see it.
That's it.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna be more times that you don't see it, that you don't feel it, than you do.
That's it. That's it.
So you're absolutely right, and I'm thankful when we're talking about the younger generation, things like law of attraction and manifesting and energy and vegan and being natural. This generation is a given to them. That's huge.
That's huge. Yes.
But yeah, so I wind up working at the
So what's the Campbell Group? Is that a instant?
So Campbell Group was an ad agency. It was one of the largest ad agencies in Baltimore.
Wow. Okay, got it.
Largest ad agencies of Baltimore, and I'm interning there, and I'm soaking up everything, and I'm enjoying myself because this is what I wanted to do. I am at that time, I was the only Black person at the firm.
The whole firm.
The whole firm.
Wow. See? You were access. You had access to something most Black people don't have. Wow. Wow. Jeez.
So only African American, and I'm younger. Everyone was older than me by like at a minimum 20 or 15 years, at a minimum.
Wow.
So it was and it's actually, and speaking to you right now, Quinn, you're absolutely right. There were things that I was dealing with in that space, coming, to face with what racism looks like. I had a supervisor, white woman, and she was hell bent on not liking me. And I'm not being cocky to say that, I'm like the best person in the world, but I'm pretty easy to. I'm a pretty easy person to get along with.
Sure.
And I realized that you just don't like me. And so when I went to my boss to speak about this, a white man, he's telling me how don't try to pull the racism. Don't try to pull the race card, because I know about being discriminated against as a gay white man. I have girl. I
don't want to go there. You just brought out the biggest.
I was 19.
See, I gotta hold my lips.
So, but I'm thankful. I'm thankful, right? Because one, I didn't run.
Okay.
You have to learn, how do you maneuver in this space? And it's a blessing to get these lessons as early as possible.
That's true.
Because this is the world that you live in.
Absolutely.
So I figured out how to move. And I also, to the point that you made, am I going to hide where I'm from, or am I going to own where I'm from? Yeah. Because Dionne speaks a little differently. My
hide or ride. You got to ride with where you're from. Hide or ride.
Hide or ride. If Tommorrow, I had a co-worker at Visit Baltimore, and I remember saying, West Side, ride or die. And one of the colleagues was like, oh, I was at the West Side once, and my bike got stolen or something like that. And the guy was like, well, I guess you weren't riding, or one of those words. And I'm like, but here's the deal. Realizing that Baltimore City, predominantly Black city, we have the grace and grit. It's a language here. I believe that we're one of the last real cities standing. And when I say real, it's the fact that it's people are invested in, like, there were grandmothers that grew up in this neighborhood, then their sons wind up growing up in their so, and we have been through, so it's because of the shit that we've gone through that I feel makes us relatable. Because here's the deal. Drug issues. Yeah, I got family members dealing with drug issues.
Yeah, everybody.
Murder. Everything that you see on the news, I and so many others in Baltimore have experienced it.
Yeah, most families have been through it. Yep.
And what that brings, though, is a level of empathy and compassion. Empathy
and connection. Yeah. That's
so I'm very happy that I wind up, they went through a merger. A lot of people got laid off. Luckily, because I was young and getting underpaid, they brought me over. Great. And it was actually my audacity, because currently right now, go ahead.
So wait a minute, you went from intern to a little paid? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, okay, so they hired
a little paid.
I got a little paid, right? So I'm account coordinator, but I got my foot in the door and I got an office. So for me, at that age, it was a pretty big deal.
I know.
So now I have clients, and I'm being exposed. I'm going out to these lunches at like the Center Club, and to just realize, one, what fork to pick up, like what.
Yes.
I actually didn't eat for a very long time. For years, I didn't eat during meetings. If we had lunch meetings, I didn't eat. I would, take the plate, take it back with me, because I felt so uncomfortable eating in front of these people, because I don't want to mess up. I don't, if I don't want to sloppy, I got to make sure, I'm representing. So yeah, it's Visit Baltimore, which is where I'll say that was my place. That's where
your next job.
So that's the next job. But Visit Baltimore was a client first. Okay. So ad agency for Visit Baltimore, I was the account executive for the ad agency.
Understand.
But here's what's funny is that we had a meeting with the Margot Amelia, who is right, and she's hey.
Listen, this Baltimore City. Come on, sis. Go on with it.
So Margot Amelia, who is the chief marketing officer for the aquarium now, and she was executive director at the state. She was the vice president of marketing for Visit Baltimore at the time.
Okay.
And I remember coming to a meeting, and we were presenting to her and this new vice president of sales a campaign that our ad agency had been working on. Okay. And the night before, I'm telling the creative folks, these older white men, that, hey, I've talked to the client and they're really looking for X, Y, and Z. And they ignore me. I come back, I'm like, look, I'm leading this account. I'm telling you that what they're looking to find in the creative is X, Y, and Z. They ignore me. Wow. So now we have a meeting to present this creative. And I don't know what came over me, but I was like, I took the other concept with me in my case. And we go into the meeting, and I'm presenting, and then I let the guys take over, and they're presenting their idea and energy. I can read a room, and I could see y'all ain't hitting on nothing. Like, this is they
are happy.
We are putting out here. So here comes little Dionne. I'm like, you know what? Okay, this was one idea, but here's another concept that our team has been working on. So I bring it out, and the guys are looking at me like, what? And I put it in front of them, and I started off, right? So the idea was to make you the center of and you could see, ooh, I like this. So of course, the creative team starts jumping in, right?
Of course.
And no thank you when I leave the meeting. No thank you, no nothing, no acknowledgement of the fact that it was this young Black woman who told you what was best, and you ignored me for whatever your biased reasons are. You ignored me, and it got put in your face. And I had already been in this space where I hit a ceiling where I was, and I remember this is why, universe, God is real. God is real. I was so sick where I was, so unhappy where I was. Wind up catching the flu for the first time in my life to experience the flu. And do you know, the vice president of marketing, that woman, calls me because I wasn't at work. And she leaves me a voicemail message that says, Dionne, I don't mean to, overstep, but if you are looking for a place that will acknowledge and honor your greatness and what you bring to the team, I think I have a position for you. Give me a call.
Okay. Wow.
So I handed in my letter of resignation.
You was out there.
Yo, let me tell you, I had a playlist put together for when I was leaving. I had a quitting playlist.
You blew that joint.
And that's where, so I came over to visit Baltimore, where I was for 13, 14 years.
Well, give me a minute. What is Visit Baltimore? Because I hear, what is that? So people who don't know, what is Visit Baltimore?
That's fair. So before it was Visit Baltimore, it was called BACVA, the Baltimore Area Convention of Visitors and Visitor Association. So every city has an entity, an organization that markets that city, because you thrive, hospitality and tourism. In order for a city to thrive, you need visitations, whether it's a meeting, a big meeting group, a girlfriend's getaway. You need people to stay in the hotels, and you need people to eat at the restaurants, because that tax money is what comes back to the Baltimore schools and da da da.
Okay, so that builds the vitality of the city. So these type of, they market for the city, but it builds the vitality, the money stream come from outside entities. Got it.
Correct. But thank you for saying it that way, because now it showed when I joined the team, and I realized that we're responsible for marketing the city of Baltimore, but you do not speak to my Baltimore. Like I'm in this space, and I'm on this marketing team, and I'm realizing, it's not many folks that are from Baltimore. I'm not talking about PG County. I'm saying from inner city Baltimore. There is
Baltimore proper. Get it right. Are you from Baltimore proper?
I'm gonna use that now. Yes, Baltimore proper.
Yes.
So I have to say that became my strength. Being able to speak to a space and experience that others did not have.
Wow.
That they needed.
Your shade. You got a 63% Baltimore City that's Black. You better have some melanin in there, all of that works out. So you became the access point to the grime.
and that's what, when you're the few in the room, people don't think about the pressure, the stress, the trauma. I'm really real. The trauma. I did not realize how traumatized I had been from this corporate experience until I had removed myself. And that's when the scars that I had been covering with the armor that we are required to wear in these spaces was revealed. I'm like, damn.
Yes.
I am bloody and fucking bruised.
Man, you are saying something. I told my mom the other day, I said, we busy sending our kids to college. And then after they finish in college, they got to go back to jail. Because then they become someone they're not. They got to be in spaces that don't let them be authentic. Yeah. So what are we really doing to our children?
Right.
And she was like, wow, well, they're getting educated. I said, yeah, but this type of education is not making them better. It's making them workers. And then when you become that worker, you can't be your authentic Black self in these corporate environments. It's happened to all of us. All of us. And then Black women, we get a whole nother thing, because we're the most educated out here, let's be clear. And so we get into these spaces and they look around and they're looking for what we're not. You shaking your neck too much. You're too shapely. Whatever they can find. Your hair, your nails. Listen, that hair, girl. That hair is something.
You see this color right here? My whole head was this color. This color right here. And I remember my girlfriend, Shalonda, I remember her saying to me once, girl, you coming into those spaces with your hair, I just love your boldness. And I'm like, I didn't even know that I wasn't trying to do anything on purpose, Queen. What I'm saying is that
you were just being yourself.
That was but I love the fact that I didn't realize that people were adjusting around me. But I'm like, then what the fuck are you gonna do? Because I
But look at what now. They walking around with blue hair, green hair, purple. Sis, look what's going down now. These young kids will wear orange hair. They do not care. So get over your requirements because they doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at right now. They have every color hair. You go in the office, they got hair, they got tattoos. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? So the rules have changed.
It absolutely has.
The rules have absolutely changed, and now even what Black women present, everybody wants it. Everybody want box braids. Everybody want those. Hey, let's talk about it.
I will say, ladies, these faux locks. My girlfriend, my friend of mine, she knows that is one of my.
I do not like no faux lock because I had locks for 13 years. Don't you bring no faux in here.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna faux you out of here. I don't like faux. I don't like it, but I understand, but I don't like it.
And ladies, hey,
I love y'all, but I don't like it. I'm telling you right now. This was dreads is a whole nother system, honey. So we don't faux that.
We don't faux that.
No, we don't faux that.
We're proud. So I was there for like I said, 13, 14 years, but the turning point for me at Visit Baltimore, I think was it was the same turning point for Baltimore, 2015. 2015, Visit Baltimore was working on this really big campaign talking about Visit Baltimore. We had Common was one of the faces of the campaign, though he's not from Baltimore. He's filmed his first movie here, and he saw a lot of similarities in the people of Baltimore and his people from Chicago. So he's always shown love. Okay. And this thing we put money into having ads in the New York Times, and we had commercials. And woman, we were set to launch, I think April 15th or so, to launch this campaign that we were working on for months. I was speaking at it was an LGBT conference at the time.
That ain't enough letters, sis. I mean, QXR. What are you doing?
So what I'm saying is, at the time, that's what they were. It was an LGBT conference. So that's just to let you know the date. Okay.
Yeah, they're now Q plus. You gotta get it right.
LGBTQ plus.
And I'm not making fun of it, but it's amazing how it keeps getting bigger and bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, but the thing is, I was proud. I was speaking on behalf of Baltimore because we were one of the first cities to start our campaign of welcoming to show that Baltimore was welcoming to all. Excellent. And it was big for the city at that time. Like, we were, by law, like, people had voted to ensure that Baltimore was open. That's a difference, right? Yes. So I'm there, and the only thing, these are people who are representing different cities. We're all here for this conference, and I'm speaking on behalf of Baltimore. And of course, the only thing that they could speak to me about, trying to relate, is The Wire, right? So everyone, that's before they even told me their name. It's like, hey, I like The Wire, or
everybody, The Wire.
But I'm the wrong one for that, because art is art. The Wire was art. It was a representation of.
Was it art? I want to be clear. So I never saw The Wire. So I want to learn to Baltimore who never looked at it. Is that art?
Art is truth for me.
Or is that emulation of a people from a person who don't understand perspectives?
There are layers. Were the stories that were being told, I'm not talking about who was, producing it.
Sure.
Were the stories that were being told, did they happen? Have you ever experienced it?
I've heard that it has happened. Yes. Right? I'm hearing that's happened. Yes.
So these are things that I have experienced. These are people that I have met. So for Dionne, I know these characters weren't characters for me. I knew these folks.
Okay.
For me, the core of The Wire that I took was the fact that this system that has literally been created to hold this community, to hold this city down, there are people here that are fighting it every single day. There are more people that are out here doing the good work than what you see on the news. They will inundate you purposely to deplete you of hope, to deplete you of inspiration, to deplete you of even wanting to access Baltimore. So these are the things that I'm talking about actively to folks that just want to focus on the salacious, the scandal, sex, and crime, right? I'm like, but there's more here. And I was at that conference for about three days. And I was really nervous about it. So I literally shut down. So I talked to my husband to make sure that the boys were good, but I really was trying to zone out.
Okay.
So after the conference, I'm walking back to the train, and I'm looking at my phone, and I'm seeing, police mounted horses, 25-year-old black man, West Baltimore. And I'm like, who the fuck is Freddie Gray?
Wow. That's right. 2015 was the uprising. Yes. That was when Freddie Gray got. Yes.
I'm riding a train from New York, back to Baltimore, as I am seeing what has been happening over the last few days. I'm like, oh my God. And Queen, for me, the name of my company is Audacity. And I'm constantly, people are like, oh, I love the name. Where did you get that? I'm like,
I love that name.
Audacity was formed for me in 2015. When I stepped off that train at Penn Station, I knew that from this point forward, CNN, every media outlet that you could possibly think of was here. Use Baltimore like a fucking piñata. And I refused to let them own the narrative. So for me, I tell people that it's an African proverb: until the lion learns to speak,
they will write the story.
Every story will always glorify the hunter.
Absolutely.
Audacity became the voice for the lions. And I'm like, that's what I am going to do. I am going to show you. I am going to make Baltimore, because at that time, this whole underdog mantra, this thing that we had, the chip on the shoulder, we had been rocking it for a really long time. Like it became a part of our DNA, of our swagger. But again, when you realize that the words that you speak, you become. The underdog is someone that no one ever believes will win.
Yeah.
And when they do, you look at it as an upset. I'm like, no, we need to start stepping in the middle of the ring and crowning ourselves kings and queens. This whole inferior attitude. Stop. You cannot tell the American story without having Baltimore as a period on the end.
Please. You better know every oppressive thing they produced in the country started in Baltimore. Just
think of Harriet Tubman's footsteps
in
my
Baltimore.
Hero in Baltimore. You can't say shit about my city.
That's right.
So that was the birth of owning the narrative, and it made me think more about. I was starting to try to understand the universe more, and manifestation, and the power of words, the power of energy. And I would be in these meetings, and I know that people are looking at me, what were you? Again, I am still one of the few in these boardrooms speaking this way. And I have to thank Baltimore for representing, because it's hard when you are in spaces where people are constantly telling you what's not going to work, what will not happen, all of the like every day I'm being hit with all the negatives.
Sure.
So for Baltimore, proper to adopt and embrace this new attitude of, wait a minute, we are who we say we are. You do not dictate Baltimore's greatness. We are going to show you who we are. We're going to own that. And you know what? We're going to create a space so that the next time that people want to start popping off at the mouth about what they feel Baltimore is, we have a place to point and say, you know what? That's not my city, though. That's not my Bmore. You want to, with the rise of social media, what is it? 500 million people use Instagram every day.
Yes.
And that's fourth behind the TikTok, Facebook.
Yep.
That's fourth.
Yeah.
That lets you know that we have the power now to tell our story.
Yep.
Not begging the media to please see us as human beings.
That's right. That's what I love it.
The world to acknowledge how much of the world we created. So it was an empowering. I fought so hard against what was told to me. That's why I love people like Erica Bridgeford, because I remember reaching out to her a few years after my Bmore, and I'm like, you know what? I remember hearing when people started seeing the ceasefire, and I heard people saying, "What is that? Don't kill nobody!" Like, oh my God, why would we do that? And it was the same thing that was done with the hashtag my Bmore. Same thing.
They went after it.
Exact thing.
Yeah.
But it took a spirit of relentlessness that I'm going to do. Like, we are the light. We are the light. So shine. Light attracts light. Just keep shining. Don't worry. Keep shining. So that's what Erica has done. The My Bmore it's been rocking now for the last 4 or 5 years. Over 400.
You started that in 2015, or so you started that in
2017.
So you started after you left Visit Baltimore.
No, I was still so that was the thing. I was still at Visit Baltimore.
Okay. So you started your own little hashtag. So you was using technology to get ready to start your own joint. I see.
And the thing is, that's why I love God, because I had no intention of leaving. Like, to also know the standpoint of the imposter syndrome, which is real.
It is so
right.
real.
So and I'm looking at the time. I know that oh my God, did we even talk about?
Thank you. See, that's what you was like. Oh, it's gonna be an hour. This is how I get you. I get you talking. Let's talk, sis. Go on. We're gonna be off here, but go ahead and talk about my Bmore. Let's talk about it. That's what we're here to do. It needs, love it. My Bmore. Share the love. So you started this at
the idea
Baltimore.
At Visit, what I was saying to the team there was we invest so much money in order to get out of market, because that's a responsibility. The responsibility of the Visit Baltimore or of CVBs is to get people that don't live here to want to travel here.
To want to come here, sure.
Yes, so that's their job.
Yes.
For me, it was the fact that, okay, you can do that, but if we don't talk to the people in Baltimore, then that means that you invest all this money for this family from Philly to come to Baltimore, to be surrounded by people who are talking shit, who are angry, who don't love it, and what happens is they take that story back home, and on Monday you're asked, so how was your trip to Baltimore?
Yeah.
Oh man, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Let me.
Yeah.
So
only you could do that. Just think, you can have a team of these, but only someone who knows Baltimore, who's been bred in Baltimore, who is Black in Baltimore, would know that the people in Baltimore need to love my Bmore. Only you would do that. That's not going to come from a team. That's going to come from someone who has actually lived this thing. And that's what makes it so powerful, that you started something within someone else's organization that is still rocking.
And that's the thing. When I left Visit Baltimore, so I left in 2018. And it was a leap, right? Because when you're salaried and everything, there's a certain comfort
Yes.
You know, you got a mortgage. Like I said, I got 3 children. My husband's a professional stand-up comedian, you know, so it's like, what do we want to do? But I had to, and I left, and James Baldwin became my counselor. Seriously, like it was, he really got me through. It was a dark period for me when I left because, like I said, I didn't realize how traumatizing it was being in this space. And Visit Baltimore, they gave it, as they framed it, we're giving hashtag my BMore back to the community. So they didn't, you know, they weren't going to utilize it.
Excellent.
And they gave it to Baltimore. And it wasn't, someone had to tell me in 2020, hey, Dionne, do you know it's like 300,000 hits on the My BMore? I'm like, what? So you mean to tell me the city, the Baltimore?
Really? Somebody had to tell you that, sis? Lord.
When I left, I had to leave. I had to leave. So I really did go into a cocoon for a period of time because I had to remember who Dionne was. I forgot that I loved telling stories. I forgot that I loved to sing. I forgot because I've morphed so much to try to be in this space that I cut off, or my brain, it shut off so much of myself.
Yeah, we shut off ourselves to be in these spaces.
I didn't realize that.
Exactly.
I started opening back up. I'm like, man. So the long and short is to realize that Baltimore kept going and telling its story with or without some type of leader. Like you can't own a hashtag. I don't own hashtag my BMore. What I am, I'm invested in this city. I'm an advocate for it. I'm a fighter of it.
Wow.
If you want to say vision, yep, I had this vision of it, but it's not mine.
So how did Audacity start? I mean, and that name is fly. Let me tell you right now. How did you get there?
Audacity was formed because over my years here in Baltimore, I was surrounded by amazing people. Just like the reason that you started this radio show, the reason you started it was the same reason that I started Audacity. Is because I knew that there was so much dopeness in this city. But when you are social impact, when you are out here working to make a change, you know, you're trying to, you know, move people from, you know, water's not running in certain communities. Like when you're focused on that, they don't got time for social media.
No, they're trying to live. They're trying to survive. Yeah.
But the story is important.
It is.
So Audacity decided to be the voice for the lions so that those people that are doing the work, let me help you in telling your story, shaping this narrative. And I've dedicated my time to that. That's all I work with. I work with people in Baltimore who are doing things not for themselves, but for others. And I help amplify their message.
That is absolutely beautiful. And, you know, we have a story that kind of aligns. It's like when in 2015, I work in the medical field, and we were being briefed about what was going on outside, of course.
Yeah.
And we seen it on television and seeing the coverage. I said, where is Black media? Who is people who are talking, who understand these kids' plight and what they went through? Because this is not that they're savages. This is a reaction to oppression. So I'm like, so where is the Black voice? There was none. And the Black voices that work for these major agencies, of course, they speak just like Europeans. So I'm listening to this coverage and I'm like, we got to have a space where we tell our own stories and a space where it's authentic to our own story and it comes from us. And you know, I know nothing about media, but I said, listen, if it's not out there, we're gonna start it. Huh? How about that?
It. If it's not there, be the change that you want to see. Stop waiting.
That's what that's what we intentionally did. I didn't start in 2015. I started in 2019. It took me a while because I got sick. But once I told God, if He saved my life, that's immediately what I would do is work with my community and platform Black people and give them spaces to speak from their own mouths about their own thing. Real talk. And that is so important. And Baltimore needs that. We need authentic places where we can be awesome, where we can be scared, where we can be hungry, whatever it is, we need it. And it doesn't rely with other people. And so we have a similar stories when we saw, I saw catastrophe and I said, we got to address it.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and it's important and we have to continue. And I hope someone comes behind us and they create something. We got to keep creating. If we want my Bmore to be this great space, we all got to contribute.
All. And that's right now, I'm out here pounding the pavements. I have deemed it the season of self-love. I'm like, this is our, for the last 2 years, even before the pandemic, we were dealing with shit. Even before the pandemic.
Please, we've been in a pandemic. Black folks been in a pandemic for 4 minutes.
But now to look at where we are, like I tell people are grieving.
Yes.
Deeply grieving.
Yes.
Angry, exhausted. I ain't tired. Like weary.
Yes.
Weary. And they need hope. Yeah. Like I needed hope. So I'm like, if this is what I need some hope, inspiration, a reminder that this ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not it.
It's not it.
So this was the resurgence of, look, guys, I know it looks dark, but you don't know what light is without darkness.
You better say it.
So let's be the light. Let's be. Let's come together. The more light, the brighter. You know what I mean?
That's right. Listen, I love it. I tell you, we never even get past what you did. We haven't talked about that. That is just how powerful energy and conversation is. But this is what I wanted. I wanted the series to be about Baltimore and what the people who are actually working in Baltimore, how they experience Baltimore. Because we all experience it differently, but we all want repair. Baltimore needs repair.
Queen, and I'm gonna let you go because I know my boys wanted to watch the little we got every evening we watch a show together. But shit, you had just said something. Say what you said.
Repair. I said Baltimore needs repair.
I was thinking today, you know, hey Dionne, if you were asked something negative about another Baltimorean in leadership, what would be your response? And this is how I talk to myself. Like I told you, I have my own conversations in my head. And I'm
not gonna talk about that yet. We're gonna move on.
Because I'm ready. Sign me up. Is that what month is that? May?
May. I have you back.
Thank you. But I wanted to note the point of fudge. What do I keep?
So you watch a show.
But it's the fact that how would you respond to a question that's supposed to be viewed as a negative, like a hit on someone, Black leadership in Baltimore?
Yeah. And so let me give you an example. Hypothetically, this is hypothetically. What about Marilyn Mosby? See, you know, what you think? So that's what people, you know, they expect for you to jump right in. Well, you know, she should have been more careful. You know, but we got to respond in ways that build our people.
And that's
even when they're struggling to be who they are.
And there it is. For me, relationships start at the heart. What I do know in engaging with Marilyn, she about this shit though.
Let me. I ain't even gonna say nothing, but I think Marilyn got a checkmate for them. But we're not talking about. But I think she got a checkmate. They better be careful. You know, so we're going to see. But, you know, these attacks on, it's not really about Marilyn. My thing is about Black women. And I'm having a problem with everybody who's corrupted. It's Black women. Sister Catherine, Sister Sheila, the lady, the Senator Glenn. I'm having a problem that the only corrupted people in anything in Maryland are Black women. And we're going to all lengths to find something wrong with the leadership of Black women. That's my issue. There's no problem with O'Malley. There's no problem with the governor. There's no problem with none of them. None of the judges. It's all Black women. That's my issue. Is there an attack on Black women? That's my issue.
Oh, it's open season. It has been open season. And that's why we need spaces to come together. Hashtag my Bmore was like, okay, where can I be in a group with people, but a resurgence of positivity?
Yes.
because there is a way to even talk about the darkness of Baltimore through the light of the people that are fighting the darkness. Like there's always a way to tell the story, and I'm committed to telling it in a way that's effective, impactful, meaningful, and honest.
Listen, I appreciate you. You are you are amazing. I knew it would be. I just knew. And you said you were anxious. You laid it all on the table. We needed that. And we need to hear from each other. We need to connect and link with each other. It's a pleasure meeting you and talking to you.
Queen. Thank you.
I knew this connection would be just what it is, just a conversation amongst sisters. And I just really appreciate what you're doing for Baltimore. Keep it up. We need marketing that is positive to the Black experience in a Black city. That's it.
Thank you.
And you're doing that, and we appreciate that.
I
Absolutely appreciate that.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Tonight we have had DJW, Dionne Joyner-Weems from the Audacity Group. She is the Chief Energy Officer of the Audacity Group. My Bmore hashtag. That's her, y'all. My Bmore.
Bye, Queen.
Don't go nowhere. We're gonna hang up. Don't go nowhere. So we're BLaKBoXXRadio. You know, go to our YouTube channel. Check us out. Please subscribe.
Please
stick with us. We're coming with more and more content. This is a Black thing. We love Black people, and we're giving Black people spaces. We are BLaKBoXXRadio. We boxed up and out. Can I get some deuces? Don't hang up yet. I'm gonna hang. You a mess.